So you probably know that in our congregation we've decided to focus on three aspects of Gilpin's character through this 500th anniversary year. The first one of these three aspects is his faith. And I'm kind of intrigued to know how Gilpin's faith changed over the years, because of course he would have be born into a world that was very much Catholic, and then he died in a world that was much more Protestant, right in the middle of the Reformation. So how did his kind of beliefs change over that period?
The story of Gilpin's faith and the way it developed over his lifetime, I think, is part and parcel of the Reformation, the story of the Reformation, because he personifies the Reformation and the way in which it was an intellectual and theological issue rather than a political issue, which I think it's sometimes portrayed. When Gilpin was born in 1517 in a remote part of Westmoreland, of course, the whole of the Western world was solidly Catholic. That was the faith of his fathers, the faith he grew up in, the faith his mother taught him on her knee. And he said he would die a Catholic. He believed in Catholic liturgy, he believed in Catholic teaching. But of course, when he went to university, the world was in turmoil, the Western world, because of Luther and the Protestant Reformation. And being a young man, being open-minded, and being a very clever man, he read all of the more recent texts, and he studied and he thought, but he remained a Catholic until he encountered a chap called Peter Martyr, who had come from the continent and taken up the position of professor of theology and was arguing for the Protestant faith. And Gilpin was put up against him to argue in a public debate on the part of the Catholic faith. And he prepared immensely hard for that, as he would do. But as he engaged in that debate, he began to realise that the arguments he was advancing weren't as strong and as solid as those of Peter Martyr's, which were based on the gospel. So he began to query the faith in which he'd been brought up. But he was very loyal to his family, to the faith of his family, and in particular to his uncle Cuthbert Tunstall, who was Bishop of Durham, and who remained a Catholic, albeit a very liberal Catholic. And they used to discuss issues of faith, and Tunstall understood entirely Gilpin's position and the way it developed. And after Tunstall died, Gilpin was able to have the confidence to say, I am a Protestant by conviction. It was an intellectual thing. It was also based on his study and his understanding of the gospel. And you have to understand, Gilpin was learned in Latin, in Hebrew and in Greek. So he read the original sources. So he wasn't just relying on, if you like, on second-hand sources. His study and the way his faith changed came from his reading of original texts. And I admire that hugely.
Yes.